Hello everyone, this is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today we're going to be talking about some of the steps that you can follow when you're going to write your research report. So if you're in a college and you have a course that requires like a 35% paper, then this will help you. So step one, come up with the research question based on a topic of interest. I discussed how to come up with a topic of interest and how to create your research question in this video. So if you are still at step one, please feel free to refer to this video. That's step one. Now, step two is you need to do an audience analysis so you can figure out who it is that would be reading this report so that you can tailor what you write to meet the needs of your audience. Now, I did a quick short here, like a 60-second video, and that talks about how to do an audience analysis. So if you're trying to figure that part out also, you can quickly take a quick peek, and that will help you out with that. Now, once you have your question and you've done your audience analysis, it's a good idea to now come up with what we call the purpose of the report. And usually there are a few purposes that a report would have. It would be either to inform, analyze, persuade, compare. So you want to be very clear about what you want your report to do. Are you trying to change something at work? Are you trying to compare how two systems work? So be very clear so that you have a singular purpose, because that is very important. Your purpose must be clear, and that's step three. So step number four is that you write your core sentence, which I spoke about in this video. So you can always refer to this video to remember how to write your core sentence. So let's say that after I did this speech on the sustainability of friendships, I decided to do a research report on the sustainability of friendships. And I decided that I would make this my core sentence. This report investigates the impact of unsustained friendships on people's lives in three categories: conflict resolution skills, communication skills, and peacemaking skills. So that is my core sentence. And the three categories that I got from the core sentence are conflict resolution skills, communication skills, and peacemaking skills. So those are going to be the three areas that my report will focus on, and therefore in my outline, I have to first begin by writing those three categories, as I've done in this example here. And that's what you need to do also. Come up with your 1, 2, and 3 based on your core sentence. But for a report, those three categories will be too broad, and you want to not research too much or research too little. So you need to give yourself some guideposts. So what you're going to do next is each of those three categories, you're going to divide each one into at least 2. You need at least 2 categories under each of those 3 big categories. And based on your reading, you should be able to decide on which 2 areas you want to pursue under each category. So, for example, let's just choose one of these categories, and let's look at the one that says communication skills. So let's look at this little example here. So you'll see communication skills, and then you'll see the A, you see A and you see B. And between A and B, there's a 1 and a 2, which means that I decide on what will be the number 1 and what will be number 2. Those 2 areas will be the areas that will guide me in my research, and I am narrowing the focus so it isn't just a broad communication skills, but I have divided it into 2 parts. You should do the same for yours. And once again, if you decide that you want to divide another section of the divided section, you can use this example also. You can follow this example. You'll see that beneath number 2, I have an A and a B. Let's say number 2 was broad, very broad, and there was just too much that you would have to cover. Once again, you can divide it in 2. If you're dividing, it has to at least be 2 minimum. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You can divide and divide and divide, but you're not going to keep your topic so broad that your research doesn't cover anything in any depth. Once again, it's really a judgment call that you have to make. As soon as you start doing your reading, you will see what it is that you really want to talk about, and you'll decide on how deep you want your arguments to be. Another thing to keep in mind is that you must maintain parallelism. So whatever word form you used for one, you must use for all. So let's say we're talking about the 3 big categories. You'll notice that mine said conflict resolution skills, communication skills, peacemaking skills. That's what parallelism means, that each has the same word form. I could put something like communication skills, conflict resolution skills, and the sustainability of peace. That would not make it parallel. So parallelism means that each word has the same form. Now, the big categories should be parallel, and the smaller categories also should be parallel. But big and small don't have to be parallel together. As long as each section is parallel, that's fine. So parallelism is another thing that's very important when you're doing your report. So let's look at this example that I took from the textbook that we normally use when we're face-to-face. Well, I normally use when we're face-to-face. So this is an alphanumeric outline. Now, if you look at the top, you'll see complaints, questionnaires, and personal interviews. Those are the 3 big categories. Now, under complaints, it's divided into 2 parts, Richmond and Surrey. So that's talking about the 2 areas that they're going to look at to see the complaints from those two cities. Then below that, you have questionnaires. And under questionnaires, you have A and B. But A is divided into 2 parts, Richmond and Surrey. And then there is a B, which also is divided between Richmond and Surrey. And then the C is mixed reaction, which is not divided. Now, if you only have one thing to talk about, you wouldn't put A, or you wouldn't put 1, because you only need to number it when it's more than 1. So when you look at all of that, you see questionnaires and you see 3 divisions, and 2 of those divisions are also further divided. And then now we see something a little bit different when you look at the section with personal interviews, because you have A, which is not divided, then B, which is divided. So this is a perfect example of what your outline can look like. So have a look at that and decide on what are your 3 big categories and how you plan to divide each of those categories. And remember, if there's only one thing to talk about, then there's no division. Once there's a division, it means that you have at least 2 things. The rule of thumb, therefore, is that once you're writing about each section needs to be 2 to 6 paragraphs long. 2 to 6. So not 1, but 2 to 6 paragraphs long. Now, once you have your outline ready and you've started to do some reading, now it's time to start writing. And what you're going to be doing is ensuring that you don't plagiarize. And how do you do this? By summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting accurately so that you give credit where credit is due. Remember, if you encounter information that is general knowledge, you don't have to quote. But if you have information that you didn't come up with and it's not general knowledge, then you need to document your sources. And in the next video, we're going to talk about how to maintain academic integrity by documenting our sources carefully and by crediting the people who are responsible for the information that we've integrated into our work. So, in summary, there are about 5 steps that you need to follow to get to the point of writing your outline. And once you've written your outline, you're ready to start writing. And in the next video, we'll talk about how to write so that we maintain academic integrity. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.